the Dell XPS 15 with the Arc A370 GPU. Is it a good budget option here at the end of 2023, or is it just a waste of money? Well, let's talk about it. Yo, what up, YouTube? Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come check out this video. Like always, I do hope that you find it helpful, useful in some sort of way, or at the very least entertaining as I fumble through these reviews. I do appreciate that. But like I mentioned, this is the Dell XPS 15 with the Arc A370 dedicated GPU. And I was interested in reviewing this laptop because, well, I couldn't find reviews on it. And, you know, it's interesting, the sort of parallels when you look at something where this is sort of intended to be kind of Dell's response to the MacBook lineups, right? And in the MacBook world, all the reviews are of the base model versus the Max models, right? You saw those in spades during the M3 releases. Base model, Max models, which again is why I did the review I did on the M3 Pro, which I thought was the best option for most people. But then, you know, you come to the XPS, the Windows side of the house, and you don't really see much of the base model. So I was interested to see just how this laptop performed. And I think it's interesting. You know, I think you often hear it said that, you know, happiness is based on your expectations. And I think that plays out well here. You know, depending on what you're expecting from this laptop will determine your level of satisfaction with it. This laptop, and you know, you can check out the benchmarks that I have going on the side of the screen here just to keep this thing moving. You know, this laptop, I think, you know, as I opened the episode talking about, is it a good budget option or a waste of money? I think it's a good budget option. And, you know, the Intel Arc GPUs were sort of derided for being underwhelming, whatever, when they first released. And, you know, first impressions are kind of lasting impressions. And that's kind of the impression that's followed Intel and Arc specifically, and especially in the world of dedicated GPUs. It's an underwhelming dedicated GPU. But I think in the case of the A370, that's the wrong way to look at what it is as a GPU. It's an underwhelming dedicated GPU, but if you look at it the way you probably should, which is a overpowered integrated GPU, then I think you can come away with better expectations and be a little bit happier with it. And that's what I think this laptop is. It's a really nice laptop with sort of overpowered or boosted integrated graphics. That's kind of the way I would look at it. So this laptop to me is a really good laptop for, again, somebody who is on a bit of a budget. You can find this laptop for just a hair over $1,000 now, you know, renewed or open box, refurbished, whatever you want to call it. And I think for that, I think it's a really good laptop. This model here is the i7-13700H, comes with 16 gigs of RAM, the 512 SSD. It has the full HD screen here, so none of the OLED options or anything, just a 1080p, or I'm sorry, 1200 because it's a 16:10 aspect ratio, full HD panel. And I think for that, it's a great value for, you know, in my mind, the person I think this laptop fits for is, you know, a working professional. Maybe you own, you know, your own business kind of a thing, and you do mostly just sort of productivity tasks with the occasional creative tasks. Like maybe you run a website and you do the occasional graphic design. So it's nice to have a little bit of an overpowered integrated graphics. Again, you're not doing full-fledged, you know, 3D animation in Blender. You're not doing, you know, crazy After Effects edits or anything of that sort. Just simple things, right? Website design, maybe a couple of graphics, that sort of thing. Maybe you're making TikTok videos or Instagram reels for your business or that sort of thing. So you need some power, you know, additional power is nice for the video editing that you do. That's not overly elaborate. I think this is great for that. I thought another option that this works really well for is if you're a podcaster. I think this is a great option for a podcaster because, and I'll try to be quiet here for just a minute so you can listen to it. What didn't you hear? noise. It's pretty quiet. It runs pretty cool. It runs pretty quiet. So if you're someone that, wants to do a podcast, or you're doing a podcast, but you just need something a little bit better, maybe something that gives you a better screen real estate. So, you're running your DAW, whatever audio editing equipment that you're using. This is great for that. And it has that little bit of extra power, that great CPU with the i7-13700H. And, so it makes audio editing a breeze on this. So I think those two groups of people, I think this fits really well. Then obviously there's the business professional. If you just want a nice, sleek looking laptop to take with you to work, all those sorts of things, because this still does all the things that an XPS does exceptional. The build quality is fantastic. It's hard to beat the build quality of a Dell XPS. It feels wonderful. And I mentioned this during my XPS 17 review. I prefer this chassis, this build, over a MacBook. I think it looks nicer. I like the way it feels better than a MacBook. I like the keys on it, and this still has all of that. It has the wonderful XPS keyboard, the gigantic, very nice, very accurate glass touchpad. The carbon fiber palm rest is wonderful. So it still does all of that great. It still has the good port selection. Again, some people may not like it, but the way this port selection works out is 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the right-hand side with, I think, a Kensington lock there. And then it has your audio combo jack here. It's got your SD card reader, and it has a USB 3.2 Gen, it's on the screen, I can't remember what it is, on the left or right-hand side, whatever, depending on where you're sitting. So the port selection is good. Battery life on this thing is acceptable. Apple kind of broke the mold on battery, and the funny thing about that is because their battery life is so outrageous, it kind of makes good battery life seem bad. So I did my YouTube, I think I did 5-hour YouTube playback on this, 50% brightness. And after 5 hours, it was sitting at around 37% battery life left. So, that gives you around 8 hours or so of, that's my public math, so forgive me, but around 8 hours of video playback, which is all day battery life, right? I mean, how often are you gonna be sitting around watching 8 hours continuously of YouTube playback? And if you take that to a productivity task where you're doing light productivity work, maybe turn the screen brightness down to, 40%, 50%, you're gonna get all day battery life out of this thing. Now, again, it's not the 20 hours that you're gonna get out of a MacBook, but I mean, it's gonna be 10 hours. Go home and charge the thing, plug it into your cell phone charger and charge it. But 10 hours of battery life is great. So the comparable for me on this would be a M2 MacBook Air, the 15-inch MacBook Air. Maybe you're considering that. This is going to be around the same price right now with buying open box, refurbished, whatever happens to be. And, if you are interested in the MacBook Air, but you're like me, you just simply prefer Windows. And I know, listen, Mac fans, I am not insulting you. I get it. Mac is better, superior in every conceivable fashion. You guys are geniuses for liking Mac. I just don't. I'm an idiot. And there are other heathens, cavemen like me out there that still prefer Windows. So if you're like me, you're a tech heathen and you still like Windows, this is a good option, right? Because it's lightweight, 4.23 pounds. Again, not as light as a MacBook Air, but it's lightweight, it's portable, great to use, battery life is good, it's a largely silent running. It does kick on the fans if you get it going. And then what it does better, right, than even the MacBook, and it's comparable to the MacBook, the M2. If you saw some of the benchmarks that I had on the screen comparing the two, it's pretty comparable as far as performance-wise. But this does also have sort of the added benefit that it is a, overpowered integrated GPU. So you can game a little bit on this thing as well. Again, as long as your expectations are set appropriately, things like Dota 2, Stardew Valley, those kind of games. I even played V Rising on this, which worked pretty well around 40 to 50 FPS. set to 1080p, medium graphics, whatever, you can still play some good games on this thing in your free time. So I think all of that makes this of good value and not a waste of money. Again, set your expectations appropriately, know what you need in a laptop, and if this can fill it. Again, if you're going to try to get into documentary filmmaking, or you want to become a 3D animator and work at Pixar or whatever, this is not the laptop for you. In that vein, neither is an M2 MacBook Air, right? Go get something with that, like I reviewed before, that RTX 4070 and the XPS 17. That's a good option for you. Or something more in the MacBook Pro lineup of laptops if you're looking for that. But business professionals, small business entrepreneurs that need a little bit of graphic design, or a little bit of creative work, but not overly extensive, podcasters, I think this laptop is great for you. And I think it'll be good for you for years. Again, the dedicated GPU, 4 gigs of VRAM in here. And not to mention, again, as we say with every review that we look at, Windows versus Apple, you can upgrade this, right? It's got 2 RAM slots. I think you can put up to 64 gigs in it. It's got 2 SSDs. So this will last you for years if you're doing simple creativity tasks, because it's not like in 3 years from now, somehow Photoshop or Affinity Photo is going to require 16 gigs of VRAM in order to be usable. No, it's going to always be good enough to get some good creative work done, make some Instagram reels, some Facebook posts about your business, and it's going to be an enjoyable, cost-effective experience at the end of the day. So I don't think you could go wrong by picking this up. I wouldn't buy it new. At this point, I'd probably try to find a refurbished, a renewed, or an open box. I'll have links down in the show notes to Amazon, Best Buy, if you want to go take a look at that and help the channel out in the meantime. But that's all I got. I like the laptop. I think it's a nice experience, like all XPS laptops are. Again, kind of the same thing I said with the XPS 17. Some people will say it's an old design. I would say it's a refined design at this point. It's still as nice of a looking laptop as there is today on the market. It still feels as good as any laptop to use on the market. So I don't think you can go wrong, and I think you'll be happy with this product for years to come. So love to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments. While you're down there, please take a moment, consider dropping a like, maybe subscribe if you haven't. I try not to inundate you guys with a ton of videos, so you don't got to worry about me blowing up your YouTube homepage. But consider that. I'd certainly appreciate it. But that is all I have for you guys today. God bless.